So I got a request to cover Eren and the philosophy of the rumbling, so here we are, let's get into it. Spoilers for Season 4, Part 2 of Attack on Titan, but not for the manga. For anyone who needs a refresher, the rumbling was basically Eren Yeager freeing the Titans trapped in the walls and unleashing them upon the world in an effort to exterminate all life and save the Eldians from the upcoming war. The Eldians had been targeted by Marley and the rest of the world and were going to be exterminated, so Eren took the most extreme measure possible to ensure the protection of his people. This isn't a video on Eren's personal philosophy or breaking down his character, I'm saving that for when the anime concludes. This is just a video seeing how Eren might justify the rumbling in his head, using a little bit of moral philosophy as well. So, was the rumbling right? Probably not. Most moral philosophy would undoubtedly condemn the rumbling. Consequentialism, utilitarianism, deontology, all of these would undoubtedly say it's wrong. And on a personal level, I agree. Of course you can never justify killing as many people as the rumbling would. But that's really boring, and I know a lot of people still sympathize with Eren, both people in AOT and people in real life. So let's see if we can play devil's advocate, or Eren's advocate, according to Flock. Keep in mind that these aren't my actual views, so please don't cancel me or be mean in the comments. This is just a thought experiment about a fictional universe. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, because it helps out the channel a lot, and with that, let's get into it. So let's start with a thought experiment. Let's say humanity had been whittled down to 1,000 people, and let's say you and your tribe, your clan, were 100 out of the 1,000. Then, let's say you and your family are of a minority, and the other 900 are of a racist majority, and you know they're planning to straight up kill you, and they even declare war as such. And because they're so racist, you know they're not going to spare anyone, not the elderly, not the children, not the disabled. Wouldn't you then be justified in fighting back and killing them? War is terrible, but the only thing worse than fighting a war is not fighting it and getting steamrolled. And that's basically the choice Eren had here. Fight the war, or get massacred. And in that situation, I think most people would agree that the right thing to do would be to fight. It would be to protect your friends and the people who've cared for you, and kill everyone else. The rumbling results in immense suffering for the world. Nobody denies that. But Eren's duty is not to the world. Was it the world outside of paradise that gave him life, that raised him, that were his friends and were there for him throughout all his suffering? Were they the ones who consoled him following the deaths of his mother and later Hans, or the betrayal of Reiner and Bertolt? Why does Eren have any obligation towards the world at all? Eren is a member of the Survey Corps. Their goal is to create a world that is free of oppression for the people inside the walls. It's initially freedom from the Titans, but it evolves into freedom from the entire world. That is Eren's duty. Not to help anyone else, but to help his people who entrusted him with that position. There are definitely innocents around the world who weren't racist, who didn't have a hand in the war, but how do you save those innocents? How, without risking your own people? You could maybe say that a peace treaty would eventually materialize after enough protracted conflict, but that still risks the death of your own people, and also far from a guarantee when your opponent is as hysterically racist as Marley. These people treated their own military personnel, heroes of their army, as second-class citizens. They're so racist that Tom Xaver's wife killed both herself and their son when she found out about his Eldian heritage. Even if a peace were to happen, Marley is so systemically racist that it's doubtful they'd keep the peace for very long. And even if Eren did have a way to try and save those innocents, why should he prioritize them over the innocent people in his own country, when the world has shown they wouldn't hesitate if the roles were reversed? Okay, with all that said, I want to examine very briefly a couple of philosophical frameworks and see whether the rumbling holds up. Arguably the two most famous moral philosophies are utilitarianism and deontology. Utilitarianism basically says that whatever action results in the greatest good for the greatest number is the best action. According to this philosophy, the rumbling's definitely a bad thing, because the plan is to basically destroy most of the world. But maybe there's another philosophy that could justify it. So let's talk about the philosophy often considered to be the opposite of utilitarianism, deontology. Deontology basically says actions are good depending on moral norms. So in the classic trolley problem, when you have the option of redirecting a train that's about to hit multiple people to only hit one person, a utilitarian would pull the lever because it'll save more people, while someone who believes in deontology would probably not pull the lever because redirecting a train to kill people is bad. So deontology would also hate the rumbling just as much as utilitarianism. It would say that an action that kills most of the world would never, ever be justified because murder is wrong. So from a utilitarian and deontological perspective, the rumbling's bad. But how do we square that with the arguments I made before about duty and obligation, about Aaron not really having an alternative? Problem is, there are alternatives. Gabby wonders why he doesn't just attack the world's military facilities instead of killing innocents. You could easily have a short-term show of force, even just taking the rumbling to 1 or 2 major cities would be enough, similar to how the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki brought about the end of World War II. He could have gone with Zeke's euthanasia plan. When the war started, some bloodshed was inevitable, but Aaron chose the most brutal, violent option there was. And beyond that, there's no reason that Aaron needs to protect the people inside the walls over the people outside the walls. Sure, he should probably protect Mikasa, Armin, his friends, but there were a lot of people inside the walls who he never met, who he didn't owe anything to. There were even people inside the walls who at one point wanted to kill him, or who otherwise treated him badly. Obligation and duty are subjective concepts, but violence and death are not. The rumbling was undoubtedly a bad thing, and Aaron was wrong for doing it. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing, liking, and hitting the bell. I make Avatar and anime content twice a week, and I work really hard on my videos, so it would mean a lot to me if you subscribed. Let me know what you think about the rumbling, and yeah, until next time.